Bronx Community Board 8. I want to thank everyone for their patience this evening, as it took us a little while to get a quorum, but now that we have one, we'll get moving. First of all, I just want to let everyone know that as far as the agenda goes, the Bodega Association called last minute and extends their apologies for not being able to be with us this evening, but they asked if they could come back in April. So we'll see how our agenda plays out, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't include them on the April agenda, but we can definitely discuss that under new business. Before we get into that, I'll do a quick roll call. Moses Isema.
Present.
Asvali Jimenez.
Present.
Joy Campbell Privatere. Not here. Julia Gomez. No Julia. Camila Tepelis.
Present.
And Ms. Constance Barnes. No. Okay. Also, I would just want to introduce very quickly Tanya Ochoteca. For those of you who don't know, Tanya is our incredible, amazing, talented community coordinator. And I don't give Tanya enough credit for the work that she's done for this committee and how much she helps our small businesses behind the scenes on a daily basis. So thank you very much, Tanya, for all that you are contributing.
Thank you, Nick.
As we are supposed to start with Mr. Marte, but he is not here. And unfortunately, I don't think our small business owner is here just yet. Send me the link directly. Oh, is she's getting in now, she says. I don't see her on the screen. I'm in now. No, I'm just going to resend the link real quick, and then if not, we'll move on and see if we can get her in. Okay.
Do you guys have a chat available, or you blocked it?
No, yeah, there's no chat available.
Okay.
All right, so I think what we'll do is the next on the agenda will be, she says the link is not letting her in. Hold on one second. Hey, Tanya, could I send you Georgina's contact, and you see if you can, all right, I'm gonna forward that to you, okay?
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I know you guys are waiting for a few more people. My name is Alina Dow. I am actually the new Bronx Borough Director for Community Board 7 through 12. Hello, everyone. I didn't want to wait until the community board meeting. They said that you guys were a little bit small, but I think that intimacy is one of the qualities of some of the community boards and some of the things that you guys do. So since you guys don't have a chat, I can't send you my information in case anybody wanted to speak to me. But
I'm happy to share it, Alina.
You have it, please share it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I do look forward to connecting with all of you at some point, but I just wanted to stop in and just say hello today.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So the next on the agenda is we have the update on the cannabis commercialization. The Office of Management of Cannabis, the Office of Cannabis Management has been conducting outreach meetings, and Camila was kind enough to volunteer to attend and provide us a brief update. Camila?
Yes, hi, sorry guys, I kind of have a cold coming in, so this is why this weird voice and swollen face. Anyways, yeah, so I attended 2 meetings of the board, one in February and the other one in mid-March. The February one was, I think, one of their, they had them geographically organized, but they had, they all had the same content. It was not very sort of public facing designed. It was highly technical in the sense that they were basically targeting the people that were in the process of applying for licenses and permits. As you know, the chain will be fairly long, stretching from production all the way down to retail. So they were discussing basically their processes of creating the licensing forms and criteria and all those things. The second meeting, so frankly, unless you truly plan to be a producer or a manufacturer or a wholesaler or a retailer, again, I think for the general public, it was not immediately relevant, but I would, by the sound of it, I would expect somewhere within 6 months or so, they will have much more sort of public facing type of conversations. The second meeting that I was expect, that was a general one, so not kind of geographically targeted, was even more interesting because after the first sort of 10 minutes, they went into an executive session. So meaning that just the music was playing, and then because they were discussing litigation and personal related matters, so that executive session took like 45 minutes, after which I decided that this is enough. So I logged out. But having said that, all the information and all their recordings and everything, they were very, very clear that they post everything on their website. So for whomever wants to check these things, they are there. But I'm sorry, I have nothing more interesting to report at this stage, and that's it. If I learn of anything interesting, I will definitely keep having an eye on this issue, and will let Nick know to distribute to all of you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for Camila from, yes, Catherine?
Yes, the only question I have is are these meetings strictly for within the city limits? Because I know there are places in Westchester that are open already.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. These are statewide.
This is statewide.
Yeah, statewide. Yeah. And also, by the way, very interesting. There are places, you're right. There are places that are fully open already, but there are places, counties that fully rejected this also. So it's kind of an interesting, I mean, a majority, of course, are open for business, but it's very interesting to see how it will evolve, and especially if there will be sort of New York City specific situations.
Right.
Let me share what came out on the last bids meeting, Catherine. I don't know if you were there, but they started to see New York City in some commercial corridors, trucks selling this on the street. So they completely bypass any regulation as far as actually securing a physical location. So now people see this truck, like ice cream trucks or whatever, mobile essentially. Yeah, which creates a whole new dimension to this thing. And voila, there is no regulation because they are still in the process of drafting sort of everything. So it's definitely something we should keep an eye on, because it can go many ways.
Okay, thank you. Wow.
Thank you, Catherine. Are there any other questions for Camila? Please use the raise hand function, or if you don't have that, just give me a wave. So Camila, I had read, and I don't know if this came up, but it was reported that based on the licensing, that if you have had a prior drug-related conviction, or if a relative or family member has had a prior drug-related conviction, you are automatically given priority to be able to obtain a license. Is that, did any of that come?
I mean, this was one of the issues they didn't want to discuss. It did came up, and there were actually recent media reports on this very issue. I think it's still fairly controversial. I don't think that they made an internal sort of ruling yet. Could be that they were also sued, because again, that's why they went in that second executive session. And this was the meeting that was just like 2 weeks ago. I mean, the whole thing, as you well know, kind of how the policy started was from the perspective of equity and social justice and addressing and trying to give sort of a way for remediation of maybe some of the excesses of the past. Now, if the pendulum will swing too much on the other end, we don't know. But I think it's very good for all of, I mean, you flagged the absolutely appropriately sort of this type of challenge. Nothing is set in stone yet. I think they're still working on their internal kind of good practices and mechanisms on things that are potentially controversial.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I'll just, one thing, I have been basically monthly been emailing Ish Gonzalez at the BP's office, just so that if there's ever a role for the community board to play, that we know what that role is going to be in terms of the licensing. So he's been sending me updates and, you know, and there's been nothing substantive yet, but I'll keep doing that. And then of course, Camila, you're on top of this issue. So if something comes up from on any aspect of it, I know you'll keep us informed, and we'll keep keeping the discussion rolling so that at least we can inform our colleagues and our fellow committee members in the community as to you know, what types of issues we might be dealing with in the months to come. So thank you very much. It was excellent. So I do see we do have Georgina Nunez from Preciosa NY on Broadway and Marble Hill has joined us, one of our amazing entrepreneurs, another one of our amazing entrepreneurs. Georgina, do you want to take it away?
Hey, how are you guys? I'm gonna
Hi.
be a little brief because I'm actually outside of the hospital now. I'm pregnant and it's been a little rough, but anyways, I'm in the car now, so I'm sorry for the background. Yes.
That seems to be going around.
Yes. It's been a rough sport through pregnancy. But
Well,
anyways,
thank you for joining us.
thank you guys for having me. Well, my business is located in 5227 Broadway. We are going to have a year now in May. In the neighborhood, we have 6 years in business. We are a bakery as well as flower shop. We do all type of gifts and events as well. So you guys are more than welcome to pass by. We have a lot of cute sweets, flowers arrangements, funeral arrangements, any type of flowers for events, and all those type of things. And yeah, we're new in the neighborhood.
Thank you. And how long have you been
We're gonna have a year
located at that location?
We're gonna have a year in May.
A year in May. So you
Mhm.
moved during the pandemic,
Yes.
and you had another location, right?
Yes. I had 6 years in St. Nicholas.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Georgina? Anyone from the committee?
Yeah, Moses here. Just curious, how was the process for you guys in identifying your location and finding the lease? Were there any kind of services that you guys found were helpful in doing that, or was it just contacting a vacant location and saying, "Hey, I want to come"?
Actually, that's a good question because I moved during the pandemic and it was pretty hard as of gaining the clientele back since we were already in Manhattan. So having the clients come to the Bronx, it was a little rough at the beginning, but we do started including services like delivery and stuff like that. And when it comes to finding the place, my husband is actually he leases the parking garage right next door. So the landlord called to offer us this location since he knew we had a bakery already. And the place is 2 times the size of the one I had in St. Nicholas. And it's not much more the rent. And I said, listen, you know, it was a rough time, but I took a leap of faith, how they say. So we're there, and I actually love the neighborhood. I love the fact that it's near the train, so it's very easy for people to get there. And we're getting involved with the community. So, you know, people already know about us, and we're getting the clientele from the community.
So were you able to get a PPP loan during the pandemic? No.
No, I didn't. I applied for well, actually, I got the PPP. I got like $4,000 for it. I didn't get the STA. I didn't get any type of help from the government. So it was rough. Like I told you, thank God that during the pandemic, I only closed for 6 months. Not like a lot of other businesses around me that had to close permanently or that had to close for much longer. Since we're a bakery, we didn't have to close for such a big amount of time. And I wasn't even closed for 4 months. It was really 4 months, not 6. And we did negotiate with the landlord, and he gave us 2 months free. So, that helped a lot. And our clients were amazing. During the pandemic, we did get a lot of calls. People couldn't show up to other people's homes, so they had to send a gift for Mother's Day. They had to send a gift for their birthdays. People were passing through a rough time, and a lot of how can I say this? But people actually got emotional during this time and tried to show up their love to their loved ones in another way that wasn't in person. So that's when we came in. So we had business during that time.
That's good.
And how did you start in this business? I mean, what was the
I started from home.
impetus?
I started from home. It was I was an accountant. I'm an accountant, and I worked for Coors Light for years. And I married when I got married, I was very detailed with how I served the food. And then I started getting friends calling me, oh, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you do me a tray like you do for your husband? And I'm like, what do you mean a tray like for my husband? Yeah. You see how you serve the breakfast in bed and you take it to him in the bed? Can you do that for me? And I'm like, okay, I could do that for you. And that's how everything started. One day I did it for a friend, then a friend of hers called me, and then another friend called, and it went viral. I did it for like an artist, and it went viral.
It's cool.
And do you do any advertising?
I do on Instagram, Facebook. That's where I do most advertising, and it has worked. We do have a lot of followers, like 50K on Instagram. So that has helped us a lot. And also we do have a lot of Hispanic artists that hire us for certain things like events, flowers, for trays. And that gives us a good promotion, and it puts us out there.
Are there any other questions for Georgina? No. Well, we're so grateful that you were able to share a little bit of your story. I guess the last question that I have, unless someone else does, is what are some of your biggest challenges right now? For example, is it finding workers? Is it your costs because of inflation? Is it getting supplies? I mean, what would you say is the biggest obstacle? Or is it like something like city regulation?
I would say all of the above. All of the above. Seriously. Inflation has been a big issue with us, especially with the prices on baking goods. Everything has gone up the roof, and then the clients, it's very hard to increase the prices because, people say they don't, there's no jobs, but it's hard to find employees. So it's hard to believe this, because I've been trying to find, by the way, if you guys know of anyone that wants to work, send them my way. I've been trying to find a good team that, wants to stick to the job and do the hours. And it's a pretty easy work. It's just, you have to like what you do. So anyways, it's hard to find employees now. It's hard to find products. A lot of the products I used to use, they're not coming in anymore. So the ones that I'm using now are double the price. And it's hard to bring up the price for clients because they don't want to pay it. So it's been pretty hard. And then, like I told you, I moved to this new location where some of my clients were lost. Like, I left from another place. That's usual when you move from one place to the other. So you lose some of your clients, and then the new clients don't want to pay the price. And then on top of this, it's like my rent is a lot higher. So all my costs and all of my expenses are higher now than they were before. So I have to, now it's that my investments are a lot higher than before. Therefore, my profits are not as high as before.
Right.
So, that's been a challenge for me.
Were you, when you first started your business, were you ever able to get a loan, or how did you raise capital? Was it your own
No.
personal investment?
My own personal investment.
Mhm.
I've always worked with my own capital.
Yeah, it's in terms of the supply chain and inflation, it's a common story. I want to think that there might be some city resources that we could connect you to in terms of staffing, but I'm going to do a little research on that and I'll get back to you.
That would be great.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right.
Thank
you
you
so
guys
much.
for having me.
Good
Thank you
luck.
so much. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Welcome to the
Good luck.
neighborhood.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
My wife loves the strawberries, by the way.
Oh, I'm glad she did.
Repeat the name and location?
Princesos NY. Princesos NY. We have a big gold logo outside. We're right next to the dentist. And the address is 5227 Broadway.
Okay.
Thanks again, and good luck
Thank
with
you.
your new addition.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so Georgina was supposed to come at another date, but because she was expecting, we wanted to make sure we got her in before she gave birth. So we have Sedgwick Pharmacy, who was going to present to us in March, and now they'll give the small business report in April. So they were gracious enough to swap with Georgina so that she could meet with us. And she was also willing to come in person because there was a time we thought we were going to be in person. So it's a testament to her, her fortitude to not only move her business during the pandemic, but to present to us while pregnant and trying to run a business all at once. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so the next is, we have budget item discussions is next on the list. Okay, so now I'm going to try to do that screen share business. So everyone, please bear with me so I can pull up the screen. There we go. Okay, can you all see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we sent the link out. I know Tanya sent it out more than once. Just want to make sure everybody has had an opportunity to weigh in and look at what we have so far in terms of our budget, expense budget requests and our initial capital budget requests. And you see we have a description here. I want to thank Vice Chair Moses Sesema for helping put this together. And if we have other suggestions, we can either put them in now or we can do it prior to the next meeting.
Sorry, Nick, this was sent out, this Excel sheet?
Yeah, yes, it was more than once.
Yeah, a few times.
Fro-
LinkedIn.
Can you, I'm sorry, I'm on the phone now. Can you give me a date?
Tanya, do we have a date when you sent it? Is Tanya still on?
Let's look what up. Yeah, it was pretty shortly after our last meeting. I think December.
Nick,
Yes, David.
do you know if it came from the office or from you or Moses directly?
from the office.
From the office. February 9th.
Yeah,
That may
February
be the
9th.
problem. I've had a problem with another committee I'm on.
Mhm.
When the things come from BX08 and they go to BX08 and they're BCC, blind carbon copy, you don't know who it actually goes to. So it's conceivable that Camellia is not on that list, because it happened to me several times. So you may need to triple check with the office what
Yeah.
the
Camille, do you want to check February 9th at 10:26 a.m.? That's
Yeah,
when-
I'm doing this right now. I just moved to my computer.
Sure.
So it's definitely not February 8th. And I'm very sorry to say, actually,
February
I'm not very
9th.
to say, I'm happy to be in agreement with David every now and then, but I do not have it February 9th either. I have
Yeah.
all kinds of things, but I do not have this link and I'm sorry to say, but Nick, please, I mean, we are just, like 7 members? Just send it like within the committee.
I think there are valid and good reasons why the office wants everything to go through them for their record keeping purposes. It's just, I think there's a good chance the same mistake was made with you as was with me. And we need a better way to make sure it doesn't happen in the future, but for now.
But this is a working document, I mean, obviously we need to know that we get it. So then if it's an email with regular CC, you know who you send it to. But like this, I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't have it and you don't have proof that I don't have, anyways. So if you wouldn't mind resending it, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I'm
what
not
happened.
sorry at
but we'll
all.
look
I
into it.
think that it should be done better.
Understood. I'll definitely speak with Tanya and find out what happened. In the meantime, we still have time. So we do have 3 suggestions. The suggestions are not in stone, so they're subject to discussion, and we're happy to open discussion on them or to entertain some other suggestions for other budget items.
Nick, just try to pop it up a line or two so you get them all together. You can. Can you delete line 6
can you
through
delete
11?
Hold on one second here.
Or hide them?
Is that any better?
Well, in a way, yeah. I'm curious, those definitions of expense and capital, where did you get them from? They're pretty good. I'm just wondering where you got them from.
I think I got them from OMB's website when they have their description of expense and budget, I believe.
Okay. It sounds like it. Do me a favor and forward this to me, because I think I will use those definitions in some other documents.
Sure.
Because I've had a generic definition of capital versus expense, and I think this is more accurate.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Moses,
so anyway.
do you remember where we got these definitions?
Yeah, no, that's right. It was we put together the examples from that one, but yeah, for definition, I think it was from the OMB. So,
Yeah, and actually this is, I just for the sake of the presentation, I deleted the examples, Moses, that you put in there, but they're still there. If you go on the site. Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion other than making sure that everyone's has access that they can put in their own suggestions? Or again, we can put them in now. I'm happy to do that now if anybody has any other suggestions.
So there's 2 proposals up in the regular expense budget and 1 proposal in the capital, right? How to say, in the capital one, refurbished strip pits in commercial corridors. So this is to parks. I can tell you straight, this will not happen if you plan to ask for more than $35,000, because parks is one of the most underfunded agencies. So, but if you just put it there as aspirational, and then it will be a whole issue of how do you decide amongst the CB8 corridors. You may want to make specific suggestions. You want to say, I don't know, in Upper Broadway or Riverdale or 225th or 228 or like just something like that if you want to. So these are sort of my two observations. And on the regular expense budget requests, I mean, they seem fairly sort of general. Emergency response unit, we really had a need for it. And emergency preparation training programs for CBA small businesses. I don't know, this is kind of the same thing like the first thing. Maybe I would combine it, but again, I don't know how to say. I mean, on all of these things that there are services already existing and already running. So I don't, honestly, I'm just not sure that there is a need to increase those, even though sometimes are super poorly attended because that's how they are. I don't know. It's just, I mean, again, it's my first view. So this is kind of just my initial gut reaction, Nick, but I will put some more thinking on it when I get the Excel.
Excellent. Thank you.
Nick,
Yes, David.
the tree pits, do you have a rough idea? Is it 10, 50, 200 of them?
Good question.
Because if it's 10 or 50, I don't think it's 35,000.
Yeah, no, I can tell you how much
Mhm.
one is. It's there between, depending on the size of the trip is, David, the cheapest is like 900 and the most expensive is like 1,400. So you can divide 35,000
So it's
to
1,000.
those numbers. Yeah, correct. Yes. 1,000 generically speaking. Yes.
Okay, well, chances are they're 35. Between, her point's well taken. I would identify whether it's Broadway and or Riverdale Avenue and or 225th Street and or 231st Street, et cetera. In which case it's likely to be more than 35 of them, more likely more than $35,000. But if you had an estimate, it would be useful.
Understood.
I bet you, Catherine, do you have an idea of how many there are on Broadway?
How many what?
Tree pits,
Oh, good Lord. From where to where?
say 225 to 242.
Oh, boy. Not that many. I know within our bid itself, we have just over 100.
Oh.
Because we went through a very intensive tree planning several years ago. Boy, I don't have any idea, David. I would say at least 50.
Okay.
David, just to let you know, there is an amazing map showing each and every single tree on each and every single street on the park's website. So in further sort of refining and quantifying this request, Nick, I would further suggest we actually make a wording along the lines of how David says, like an X number of tree pits, and even suggest a commercial corridor, but in one of our sort of poorer areas, you know what I mean? I mean, don't come up with like North Riverdale or something, so that this keeps it a little bit, gives it a little bit of a punch to this request, because actually, now that I come to think about it, I really love it and I really support it.
So, yeah, there is that data tool. So we probably could get such as a GIS map of them, and then maybe we could take a look at that. I'll try to see if I can get that for the next meeting, and then we can have a discussion on which areas we would think would be best to include, and then we can come up from there. We can probably decipher pretty easy to come up with a rough
area. Exactly. And I would even go further and say, let's not be in an area where there is a bit, sorry, Catherine, say Kingsbridge or Norwood, Jerome Gagne, you know, I mean, but somewhere where there is like say Bailey, for example, that suffered, you know what I'm saying? Or like around Marble Hill in commercial area, like there where, yeah, where there is not a local organization that is sort of serving dedicatedly the corridor.
Absolutely. I totally agree. The other thing about requesting funding for trees, if you know the city only plants in the spring and the fall, and then in the fall they plan for their spring. So right now they'll be planning for the fall planting. So if the money has to be used within a certain calendar year, that's something to keep in mind.
Well, do remember, while we are in fiscal year 2022, which ends June 30th, these items are for the proposals, the budget request for fiscal year 2024, which doesn't begin until July 1st of
July.
2023.
Right. But you have to bring in the parks, the tree division, and have them survey the sites and get approvals for them. I mean,
Well,
otherwise there's a whole
Catherine,
process.
This request is for refurbishing the pits, not creating new ones. That's a different
Oh,
item.
no, it isn't. Oh, I've had to bring them in to refurbish, and I have to go through the same process. I have dead trees, I have empty pits, and I had to go through the whole process. So you might want to check on,
Yeah, we can definitely look into that, and keeping it within the context that these are just our wish list, so to speak. Although I commend the committee on last year, because I'm sure it wasn't just because of us, but many of our items were funded, and they seem to have been well received by OMB. So we'll see if we can do that again, and we'll do as much research as possible to make them the best proposals that we can, so that they are received well. So thank you everyone for your input. Is it okay if I stop sharing screen now?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, David.
Just one moment.
Sure.
Catherine, you just brought to mind, wasn't there a proposal from the bid to standardize the ironwork around the tree pits along Broadway about 3 years ago?
it wasn't a proposal. We looked into doing it, and it's become impossible because at different times, different elected officials proposed and installed ironwork, and actually they're two different kinds. We've had merchants that have installed ironwork on their own. So to get the exact one, it's very difficult. It's something, yeah, everyone tries to standardize them. They look fairly similar. So it wasn't a proposal. It was something we looked into doing. It's very, very expensive. So what we did was kind of replace things here and there. And that was all we've done.
I guess I was sort of suggesting, well, maybe the committee wants to consider reviving that idea.
Yeah, my feedback to that, David, is that although it's a beautiful idea with a valuable aesthetic impact, I fully concur with Catherine in terms of how impossible it is in practice. And honestly, how to say, the needs are so much greater in other areas that I'm not sure how to say. Like even here, we are asking, refurbishing. Nick, I would actually go to suggest to make it more specific, which is actually what we were talking about, which is installing tree guards in tree pits that are there but do not have tree guards at the moment. So we are making a specific ask for tree guards that cost from $1,000 up, as I said. Well, that was all I wanted to say. Just to say to David, to answer your question, it's quasi impossible. They are so expensive that they also get stolen, they get replaced. People with very good intention kind of build their own styles, all these things.
Camelia, I have to interject here. One, this is not mine. I don't care. It's a question of whether economic development cares, and with things that are expensive should not necessarily be a reason to stop it or to not even consider it if economic development thinks that such a thing is important for the businesses and for the community. I think that it should recommend it. If you don't think it's important, that's fine. And ultimately, it will get weighed against ideas for parks and for environment and sanitation and traffic and transportation, etc. But if the committee members believe that it's worthwhile for the businesses and for the community, I think you should pursue it, and then decide whether you want to make a case for the expense or a portion of it, or talking to the councilman or what have you.
No, absolutely. I was just trying to say that between a three-peat with no guards that needs a guard and a three-peat that has a guard that's different than another style of guard, my priority is to give a three-peat with no guard a guard, any style, but a guard, so that not all the dogs and everything, not all the trash accumulates there. So that was my point, giving a three-peat with no guard a guard. No matter
make
what
that
style.
recommendation.
Yeah.
It's strictly up to you guys. I'm just trying to seed ideas.
Do we have anybody on economic development that's also on the Parks Committee? Anyone on? No. I'll reach out to unless there's an objection, I'll reach out to Ramdot and have a discussion about this, and maybe we could get their feedback as well in terms of, because it is parks, and if there was any chance that they would listen to us, I think it would have to be a joint request. So I'm not sure that they have any appetite for it. But I think we should require
and joint requests tend to have more weight. So I think that's a good idea, Nick.
Yeah. Yes, Catherine.
Being that this is economic development, you might want to consider being very specific. I would suggest, if you're going to do with tree guards and refurbishment of pits, do it where the commercial establishments are. We have found that when we do it, the commercial establishments usually become kind of a overseer and keep an eye on things, and it adds to the benefit of the business. So if monies are limited, etc., and you want to be judicious about where it goes, I would definitely suggest where commercial establishments are.
Understood.
Full agreement with Catherine. Full agreement.
Makes sense. I think that goes with the whole dynamic of working with commercial corridors that we discussed. So that makes sense.
Okay.
Just a thought, Nick. If the committee thinks this is a good idea, the idea of putting it out there and doing it with parks and having parks comment on it, frankly, there's a very good chance parks is going to say, it's a very nice idea. Please ask your councilman for the funds, which is frustrating in part, but it also makes it something that you can go to the councilman and say, Parks is willing, can you find the funding? So while chances are this would not get funded by the OMB cycle, it could in a year or so get funded by the councilman's discretion.
Understood. Great. So my action items just for the committee between now and April will be, number one, to research either NYC open data or the Parks Department or Department of City Planning, Zoning and Land Use application, which has a lot of this data as well, and seeing if I can come up with a user-friendly way to actually map these tree pits so that we have a visual, and then aggregate them separately. And then that way we can determine which commercial corridors and come up with a rough estimate in terms of numbers, and then come up with a rough estimate based on the numbers that Camille and Catherine gave us for cost to come up with an actual dollar amount. Does that all make sense to everyone?
It makes sense. It seems a little bit overambitious, but very much encouraged. And also, just Nick, again, reminder, just please email this Excel sheet.
Yeah, I'm gonna endeavor to reach out to the office, find out what happened, and see what their protocol is. I mean, they wanted it to go, through the office for the idea that to make sure that everybody got it at the same time. And obviously that didn't work. So for some reason, so we have to figure out why.
Nick, also, do me a favor, could you give me a call tomorrow or next week? So we can just go over the formatting so we can get it consistent for, submission with all the others.
Sure, absolutely.
It's only moderate formatting change, that's all.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Could we stop screen share now?
Yeah, sure. David, quick question. When is your absolute final deadline on this?
These are due April 20th.
Okay, so then Nick, we actually do not have time for another meeting because usually our meetings are like the last week.
I'll work that out with
Can you-
Nick.
Okay,
Cornelia,
good.
Don't worry about it.
Maybe
I
we
will
can-
work that out with Nick.
Okay, very good. Maybe you can give us the end of the month.
Yeah, give us, if you
Cornelia, I
can, give
will
us
work
one
it
more
out
meeting.
with Nick.
Awesome, thank you, David.
There you go.
Okay, so next, chair's report. I will be as brief as possible. Every year, economic development, we honor at least one of our district's amazing entrepreneurs. And last year we named this prestigious award, the Betty Campbell Adams Award, after the former owner and manager of Lloyd's Carrot Cake, world famous Lloyd's Carrot Cake. So for those of you who don't know, the criteria that the committee takes into consideration are the businesses' contributions to our communities, economic growth, their entrepreneurial spirit, support, and demonstration of ethical business practices, such as honesty, fairness, respect, community justice, and the like. And last year, our nomination period ran from, I believe it was May 1st, from April 1st until May 15th. So I'll suggest that we discuss this more formally under new business with the committee, but I anticipate that we'll open that nomination period at that same time. And then last year we have a nomination form that you can obtain through the office, and I believe is also posted on our website. If it isn't, then I'll make sure that it is before the nomination period starts. And then otherwise, if you don't want to use a nomination form, I believe we accepted nominations, just people, if you wrote in nominations about the particular business based on our criteria, that will be acceptable as well. I want to thank Enzo from Councilmember Dinowitz's office for inviting me and some other the chairs to a walkthrough on Johnson Avenue corridor on March 29th, I believe is next Tuesday. With DOT Commissioner Rodriguez, we will be discussing the permanent open restaurant program. We are still working with the businesses on Bailey Avenue. Item number 3, actually, sorry. We are still working on businesses on Bailey Avenue to get them back into their storefronts after the terrible fire in November. And I want to thank Bernadette Nation from SBS, as well as Rolando Gonzalez from Legal Aids, and Ned Klein from Assemblymember Dinowitz's office for doing their very best. Unfortunately, there hasn't seemed to be as much progress as we would like. Joselito Severino from Talila was going to come today, but I don't see him here. Let me just give another quick check. He's not in to give us an update, but we're trying to get essentially the landlord to get the repairs done as quickly as possible, because the businesses are ready to get back to work. Lastly, we have Ponce Bank, one of our indispensable local community partners, is putting on a training and educational event for small businesses on Tuesday, March 29th. The event will take place at the conference center at 1200 Waters Place, and the focus will be on building a financial foundation for your businesses. So anybody that might be interested, and Catherine, if you have anyone, even though Catherine's probably already aware of this, please refer your businesses to us or to, I believe the information is posted on a number of websites, being the Bronx Chamber of Commerce is one, and I think SBS as well. So anyone interested, please reach out, and we can also send you the link for that event. And I think that's all I have. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to address and discuss. Otherwise, we'll move on to outstanding business. Nothing.
Well, I will say something. Outstanding good news. On May, I'm sorry, the date doesn't come up, but I think it's like end of May, there will be a block party in North Riverdale or North Riverdale Avenue. It's the merchants there that are organizing it and the Main Street Alliance. So just wanted to put it out there for
What's the
everyone.
date, Camila?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for it right now. I will email it to you, Nick, because I think it's on my phone, but frankly, I'm afraid that Zoom will shut me down. But it's in May, so there's plenty of time. I'll send you the flyer, so maybe we can also promote it a little bit. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
That sounds like fun. I hope I can
Yep,
make it.
yep. That's what I wanted to share.
Outstanding business. One item that I can report, and I want to thank Catherine for confirming the By K dark store business on 231st that was raised last month's meeting. It was reported to me that they closed abruptly, and apparently it was reported that it had something to do with the sanctions on Russia, although I have no verification on that. For the moment, I guess we can rest our concerns about that particular establishment for the time being. Do we have any other outstanding business?
Just to follow up on what you just said, Nick, the By K's all over the city were shut down, and it has to do with there is no, I think the financial funds have been frozen, and so this company has no way to access any funding to keep afloat, to pay their people, to pay their rent, etc.
Interesting.
Also, let me add, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just
just to say that, yeah. Okay, you go.
I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with those storefronts. You know, I'm sure they have to go through legal eviction proceedings, but it'll probably take some time.
Maybe not. Depends on what they signed. Some of the landlords are smart enough not to get themselves into. These are iffy type businesses. It's not as if an established McDonald's is coming in. So we're going to talk to the landlord, but I don't think there'll be much problem because they don't have much recourse. You know, it's.
It may have been month to month. Do you know if that rumor about Russian connection is true or?
Oh, absolutely. It's
okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's been all over the internet when the company was first blasted into the city. And it's, you know, a lot of these sanctions that have happened were really, you know, surprising to a lot of people, not surprising, but it affected one very narrow specific type of business. I know the city council's very concerned about, there's like 5 other variations of By K in the city. Mm-hmm. And none of them are thrilled about these dark, what did you call that, Nick? A dark store or something?
Dark store. That's what they're calling them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Camila.
Yeah. Just wanted to add also that there were reports in the media that indeed a couple of companies managing this type of stores are a little bit in a liquidity crunch at the moment. Also due to the fact that they rely heavily on the cost of fuel that went so much up over the last month. And many of them are funded by venture capital. Much of it is indeed originating from Russian, who knew, right? From sort of Russian sources. So there are these 2 factors that are severely impacting this type of businesses apparently.
Understood.
That's it.
Also, sorry, just before I forget again. Yes, I did have one other outstanding item just to sort of preliminarily announce. For those of you who don't know, March 31st in the Traffic and Transportation Committee, there will be a conversation about a newly proposed bike lane that DOT wants to bring to North Riverdale, to Riverdale Avenue. So just wanted to let you all know and be there if you're interested to listening to the debate.
There
Great.
will be
That
a
would
presentation by DOT.
DOT presentation. What's the date of that?
Yes, yes, March 31st.
March 30th.
Week
Yeah,
from
it's
tonight.
a new thing.
Okay. Okay, so, well, that kind of falls under new business, so segue to new business. We just have, I just want to get, before anyone else brings any items, quickly get, are there any objections from committee members regarding the timeline for the Betty Campbell Adams Most Valuable Merchant Award? We have the nomination period open on March 1st until May 15th. We can vote on May 15th and then have an official announcement in June. I believe that's the same timeline we used last year. And then we have our ceremony in conjunction with the Irv Latimer Community Service Award. Are we all okay with that?
That generally makes sense. For me, the only question is, do you recall at this point, Nick, is our meeting on May 15th or is it the week
No.
after? Yeah, okay.
No, the meeting is.
End of May, right? Like typical.
Yeah, but that just, I just put that so it gives everybody time
No, yeah, exactly.
to read them before, right?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure it wasn't.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me anyway. Yeah.
Okay. David,
Yeah, except if you have them by May 15th, and assuming, sometime that week you approve it, I think what that means is you are submitting it to the board at the June meeting for their approval, which means you can't actually give it out until September. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna have to check on that. You might be right. So in other words, we would vote, you're probably right. So we voted in May last year that went to the board in June. And
Right.
then we,
Yeah.
right.
But if
I
it goes to
thought we
the
gave
board
it
in
in-
June.
Right, there's no reason why we need, that's right. There's no reason why you're correct, 100%. There's no reason why we need 6 weeks to,
Yeah, so
we have
may
it.
be like April 1st through April 20th, so that your committee can vote on that at April, 22nd, whatever that date may be, and present it to the board in the May meeting for approval, so that the winners can, presumably along with the Irving Latimer, be present and awarded at the June meeting.
yeah, but well, let me get feedback from the committee first. As I
Of
recall,
course, please.
as I recall, I think David's right in it. We actually last year, I believe we voted in May. And then they went to the board in June, correct? And then we just made an announcement, and then we have the ceremony in the fall.
Yeah, so that's the key, David. It was that there was, I keep forgetting, the other award happens, I think, in the fall, and so we're like, hey, let's just do it at the same time. So I think that's
Right,
what
right.
I think that's what ended up happening.
Oh, I'm
your
sorry, I
exact
didn't
timeline-
follow.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we don't need the businesses to come to the June meeting.
Right.
We can vote on it in the June meeting and then just give them an announcement like in the end of June or early July, just to let them know that they're going to be a ceremony to honor them in the fall. And I believe that's what we did last year. But I'm going to discuss it with Laura because we coordinated last year and make sure that I'm getting that right. But I'm pretty sure that's how we did it.
That's a good idea. I didn't realize that they were given out in the fall. I thought they were given out. I thought your intent was to give them out in June. No, that's
Yeah.
fine. And I think speaking to Laura is a good idea.
No,
Nick, just
yes.
No, I'm
Go right
fairly
ahead.
certain that we did it in September, actually, so I think we're good. But just one kind of, I don't know, procedural thingy. I mean, one thing that kind of, the businesses we had last year were absolutely great. Just one thing in terms of how we set up the September thing. I mean, we all spoke and there was like a person introducing the business and then another person saying something else and another person saying, but the actual business didn't have a single 30 seconds to say anything. So if we could cut a little bit in the presentation of the 5 introductions by business and actually allow the person, the owner or whomever is there from the business, like a moment to speak, I would really appreciate it because I felt very weird this September.
Yeah, I mean, I think the translation to the ceremony on Zoom is less than optimal. But I'll definitely raise that with the committee that's doing the Herb Latimer presentation as well. And hopefully we'll be in person and we can have an actual ceremony where they can say a couple of words. Because
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
We always want to give voices to our small businesses first and foremost. So I definitely agree.
Also, just let me add, because I found the flyer, the block party on Riverdale Avenue, it will be between 257 and 260th Street, and it's Sunday, May 15, 12 to 5 p.m.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to send that in to Tanya? And
Sure.
so that we can
Yeah, will do.
send that around? Excellent.
Okay.
Okay. So the next item that we have, unless there's any other new business, before I jump to approval of the minutes. Okay, approval of the minutes. Has everyone gotten a chance to read the minutes, and is there any discussion?
Not on the I did get a chance to read the minutes. Maybe there are a couple of typos or whatever, but I don't think they're important enough to even mention. But just on the matter of making sure that our community board website, economic development, is in alignment to the minutes. There are only 5 members listed as committee members on the website, and there are 7 current board members according to the minutes. Members of the committee, so if we could make that adjustment to the website, please.
Yeah, that's been requested several times. I've been told to do it. And for some reason, it's not getting done. So we just have to keep, we'll send in another request. And I'll send that into Tanya again tomorrow.
That suggests a high correlation between that and the earlier problem that we discussed.
Once again, in agreement with David.
Okay. So other than that, is there any abstentions or anyone voting against approval of the minutes? Otherwise, we can approve by acclamation. Okay, the minutes are approved. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Seconded.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you all for your great suggestions and very constructive discussion. Catherine, thank you for joining us. I hope you'll join us again. It was great to have you. Always insight is always appreciated. And we'll see you all in April, if not sooner.
Good night.
Look forward to your call, Nick.
Good night.
Will do, David. Take care. Good night.
Everybody.